The modern dating scene has reached a strange and almost unbelievable turning point. What once sounded absurd is now a reality. Picture this. Women in New York City are literally stealing men's lunches. Yes, finance bro salads. And then tracking them down on LinkedIn just to spark a connection. Stop and think about that. Instead of men walking up and starting a simple conversation, we now live in a world where women are creating elaborate schemes just to be noticed. But the story doesn't end there. Some women are making bracelets with their phone numbers woven into them, slipping them discreetly to men at bars. Others are snapping accidental photos of strangers, using it as a way to break the ice. There are even women who set a man's face as their phone wallpaper, then ask him to take a picture, knowing full well he'll notice. These aren't random stunts. They're signals of a deeper cultural shift. Now, pause. What does all this mean? Does it mean women have suddenly become bold hunters? Not exactly. What it really reveals is something far more significant. Men are withdrawing. For centuries, the dynamic was clear. Men pursued, women responded. A man's confidence, his initiative, his willingness to risk rejection. These were marks of masculine energy. And women, whether they admitted it openly or not, valued it. But now, in one of the busiest cities on earth, women are resorting to desperate creativity just to bypass the silence of men who no longer approach. So the real question is, why are men pulling back? Some say it's fear of rejection, magnified by a world where public failure gets amplified on social media. Others point to confusion. Mixed signals and contradictory expectations leave men paralyzed. Be bold, but not too bold. Show interest, but don't come across as creepy. Pursue, but don't pressure. The rules have become so blurred that many men choose silence over risk. And then there's something darker, an erosion of masculine confidence itself. In today's culture, where strength is often labeled as toxic and masculine presence is scrutinized, many men are retreating into the shadows. They're stepping back not because they lack desire, but because they no longer see a clear path where their pursuit is welcomed. But here's the truth. The bizarre behaviors we see from women today, stealing salads, crafting bracelets, staging photo tricks, these aren't the disease. They're just the symptoms. The deeper issue lies in a generation of men who have been taught to doubt their instincts, suppress their initiative, and second-guess the very traits that once defined masculine strength. And ironically, this silence is creating the opposite effect. Instead of women feeling safer or more empowered, many are left frustrated, resorting to unorthodox tactics to fill the void. They don't necessarily want to chase, they want men to remember how to lead. This is the deeper story. We're not witnessing the rise of bold female hunters. We're witnessing the vacuum left behind when men no longer step forward, and until that balance is restored, we'll keep seeing more of these strange cultural symptoms. Because at the end of the day, attraction hasn't changed. Women still crave presence, confidence, and decisive energy. What's changed is men's willingness to embody those traits openly, and that's where the real challenge lies. But here's where most people miss the point. To say that men no longer approach women because they've lost all interest or because they've abandoned their role entirely is too simple. Reality is far more complex. The truth is, many men do want to approach. They want to connect. They want to lead. But they are cautious. Not weak, not passive. Cautious. Why? Because the world they live in is full of contradictions. On one hand, they're told to be bold, to make the first move, to embody the traditional role of the pursuer. On the other, they're told that the same pursuit can be unwanted, invasive, or even dangerous. One moment, the culture says, "Shoot your shot." The very next, it says, "How dare you?" Imagine living with that constant double bind. Every step forward feels like it could be misread. Every word could be twisted. And men, who by nature want to protect, not harm, withdraw. They don't want to risk being the source of discomfort. They don't want to carry the label of creepy simply for saying hello. And so, many stand still, their silence mistaken for indifference, when in truth it is hesitation born of confusion. Now, flip the perspective. Women, too, are caught in their own web of hesitation, but their chains are forged differently. From a young age, many have been told, directly or indirectly, that making the first move undermines their femininity. That a woman who approaches is chasing. That a woman who shows interest first is desperate, unfeminine, out of alignment. These beliefs are reinforced everywhere. In advice columns, online spaces, cultural narratives. A real man will come find you. Don't ever ask for his number. Don't ever show too much interest. The underlying idea is that polarity, masculine pursuit and feminine response, is what fuels attraction. And yes, there's truth in that. When a man leads with strength, when he radiates clarity and presence, it does spark attraction at a primal level. But here's the danger. When polarity hardens into rigidity, it becomes a prison. It leaves women frozen, unable to take even the smallest step toward what they desire. It creates passivity disguised as femininity. And the result is a culture where men are hesitant to approach and women are too paralyzed to signal interest. Two halves, both afraid of the first move. Connection dies in the silence. But let me be very clear, making the first move does not rob a woman of her femininity. It doesn't erase polarity. It doesn't strip the man of his masculinity. A single gesture, smiling, saying hello, paying a compliment, does not shatter the dance of attraction. If anything, it often invites it. Sometimes, all a man needs is the green light, the subtle signal that his presence is welcome. We forget something crucial. Every connection begins with a spark, and if both people wait endlessly for the other to act, nothing will ever ignite. Waiting passively is not noble. It is wasted potential. Still, we must draw an important line. There is a difference between being bold and being bizarre, between confidence and deception. A woman walking up to a man, smiling, offering a compliment, that is strength, that is presence. But inventing an elaborate story, stealing a lunch, or fabricating an accident just to force a conversation, that is not strength, that is desperation, hiding behind a mask. And here's the uncomfortable truth. If a man pulled the same stunts, we would not call it clever. We would not call it cute. We would call it what it is, unsettling, manipulative, a red flag. The same standard must apply both ways. So, if you're a woman who claims to be tired of games, who craves honesty, who wants something real, then start as you mean to go on. Don't build the foundation of a connection on deception, however small, because every seed carries its own harvest. Begin with a lie, and dishonesty will grow. Begin with respect and truth, and you give something authentic the chance to flourish. At the end of the day, both men and women are being held back by fear. Men fear rejection, misinterpretation, the crushing weight of cultural judgment. Women fear breaking scripts, being seen as too forward, stepping outside of what they've been told is feminine. And that mutual fear is carving out a dating culture built on silence, hesitation, and wasted moments. But fear is not destiny. The truth is simple, though not easy. Connection demands courage. Whether you're a man or a woman, someone must step forward, someone must break the silence, and the ones who dare, without deception, without games, without manipulation, are the ones who create bonds that last. Because courage, not clever tricks, is what turns strangers into something more. So, yes, if you feel drawn to someone, make the move. But don't complicate it, and don't hide behind tricks. Be direct, be genuine, and above all, don't be creepy. Modern dating, especially in cities like New York, can feel like a battlefield. It's competitive, fast-paced, and unforgiving. Everyone seems either distracted by ambition or endlessly chasing perfection. And yet, beneath the surface noise, people are still aching for the same thing they always have: connection. That doesn't change whether you live in Manhattan or a small town. But here's the strange irony. In this pursuit of connection, we've lowered the bar so far that stealing a man's lunch has somehow become a strategy. Think about that. When did we move so far away from the basics? Eye contact, conversation, simple honesty, that manipulation and spectacle became normal. Why should a lie, even a small one, be the opening note of a potential relationship? The truth is, the answer isn't that women just need to get sneakier, or that men simply need to swallow their fear and approach recklessly. The answer is simpler, but harder. Both sides need to stop playing games and start being more human. Step out of performance. Step into presence. For women, that means this: if you want to be approached, meet men with respect. Don't punish them for trying. A polite hello, a sincere introduction, a moment of vulnerability. These are not crimes. They're acts of courage. Work on your communication. Make it clear when interest is welcome, and make it equally clear when it isn't. That honesty will do more for dating culture than any trick ever could. For men, the same principle applies. You don't need to be a poet, you don't need rehearsed lines, and you don't need to overthink it. Just say hello. Offer a compliment that isn't loaded with expectation. Read the room, and if she's not interested, walk away with dignity. Rejection isn't the end of your masculinity. It's a natural part of life. The man who fears rejection is already defeated. The man who accepts it calmly is untouchable. But here's where it gets more unsettling. We are beginning to normalize and even celebrate behavior that, if reversed, would be seen as predatory. Scroll through the comments of these viral videos and you'll see people calling this queen behavior or how you shoot your shot. Yet deep down, we all know the double standard. If a man stole a woman's food, tracked her through LinkedIn, and reached out with a fabricated excuse, would we be laughing? Or would we be calling the police? We can't fix dating culture if we refuse to hold both sides to the same standard. Respect cannot be conditional. Honesty cannot be optional. If we want something real, it must be built on the same ground rules for everyone. This is where the cracks in modern dating reveal something deeper. Women speak endlessly about creepy behavior, about how men cross lines. And often, they're right. But when women cross the same lines and it gets excused as creative, playful, or even romantic, the inconsistency corrodes trust. If dishonesty is tolerated in one direction but condemned in the other, connection becomes a game of hypocrisy. The truth is, what's creepy for one side is creepy for the other. What's manipulative for one gender is manipulative for the other. Fairness is not about protecting one group at the expense of the other. It's about recognizing that respect must be mutual, or it means nothing at all. So what is the path forward? Strip away the games. Stop glorifying deception. Stop rewarding trickery with attention. The strongest foundation for attraction will always be honesty, not the shallow honesty of, I don't play games, while playing them anyway, but the deeper honesty that says, this is who I am, this is what I want, and I will let the chips fall where they may. And maybe that's why so many men and women feel disillusioned today. Because we've replaced vulnerability with performance, we've replaced risk with manipulation, and as a result, what we get are half connections, relationships built on shaky ground, destined to collapse when the mask eventually slips. To the women watching, you don't need a script, a scheme, or a rom-com plot twist. You don't need to steal, to lie, or to trick. Be confident. Be kind. Let him see you, not some role you've invented. To the men, don't wait for perfection. Don't wait for the exact right line, the exact right moment. Just lead. Risk rejection. Show up with presence. Because at the end of the day, that's the real problem. We've made the first step so complicated, so overanalyzed, that almost no one takes it anymore. And without the first step, there is no story. So perhaps the solution is not about who should approach whom or which tricks might work. The solution is to return to the basics that built human connection long before social media, dating apps, and viral stunts. A glance, a smile, a word, a risk, that's it. That's where everything begins. And if both men and women remembered that, maybe we wouldn't be celebrating salad theft as modern courtship. Maybe we'd be celebrating something far more rare. Honest human connection in a world drowning in noise.